All right, so
All right, on
let's get it.
to yeah.
Our classic heavy sarcasm movie, RIPD,
Yes. Uh,
the Rest in Peace Department.
yeah. I remember when this movie came out, and the marketing being very heavy for it.
Yeah, they
Eh,
really wanted to try to drive up that first weekend traffic, I guess.
Yeah. And I might have seen the trailer for it. Believe before start one of the Star Trek movies. Um, it's and I remember thinking, okay, that looked really stupid, and I didn't want to see it.
See, I was kind of the opposite, where I saw the trailer and I thought it looked very intriguing because it just has like a bunch of fun elements. You've on the surface it has a bunch of fun elements. They
Yeah,
actually did a pretty good job of getting the point across. These guys have died and they are now basically, I don't know, I guess we call it border patrol for the dead.
yeah.
They're there to keep the souls going the right direction to the great beyond.
Mm,
And you have wacky things like they keep getting in um, in like action peril that is too much for a living body to take.
mm,
And Jeff Bridges appear like they each appear to be a different person than they actually are to everybody around them. And so
mm.
Jeff Bridges is a literal uh,
Uh,
not a Playboy model, a
Vic,
Victoria's Secret model.
right? Yeah.
um, and Ryan Reynolds is that one. Who's that? Who is it?
uh,
James Wan? No,
James
no,
Hong. Yeah,
James Hong. The
yeah,
AKA. If you've seen an animated movie with with a Chinese cast, he is somebody.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And he was low pan from Big Trouble in Little China.
Yep. So it was nice to see him.
Yeah.
Uh, the problem is that this kind of reminded me a bit of. This is actually a comic book movie. It is from 10 years ago. This is based on a Dark Horse comic from the late '90s by the same name.
Mm,
I've never read this comic, but knowing how they adapted the pretty good comic Resident Alien over to the current sci-fi original,
yeah.
I can say that this movie doesn't really make me think less of the comic because the Dark Horse comics don't always get the best adaptations.
Yes, unfortunately. Yeah.
I do not know any character names, so we're going to go with actor names.
Roy was Jeff Bridges. I kind of put that with because he's kind of like a cowboy, and I had
Oh,
like
Roy
Roy
Rogers.
Rogers. Yeah.
Yep. But
Um,
but these
I want to
characters
say yeah.
these characters are not worth remembering their names though. So we're
Yeah,
just
that's
going to
yeah,
go with the actors.
okay.
But good on you for remembering one of them.
Yeah.
So we start off with Ryan Reynolds and his totally trustworthy uh, partner, played by Kevin Bacon.
Yes.
They're police officers who have stumbled across a stash of gold, and Ryan and Kevin are planning to basically fence it and really improve their lives.
Mhm.
And they kind of justify it as, I think it's like a victimless crime. Victimless crime. They stole it from like
Yeah.
drug dealers or something.
Yeah, yeah, very that's a very I hate to say it, kind of a common thing with a lot of narcotics cops is at least in
Yeah.
Hollywood movies anyway with narcotics cops where they just like, "Oh, we'll just take a little off the top, nobody's going to notice."
Yeah, I admit that it would be very tempting. You have maybe a pile of $1 million bills that's going into evidence. It's like, is anyone going to notice 100 thou off the top?
Yeah, yeah.
It's kind of why in Equalizer 3, it was kind of surprising people. He just went in and stole the exact amount of money he needed to recover the guy's 401k.
Right, yeah. But yeah, so they got this gold and because Ryan Reynolds is married and he wants to give his wife a
He
really
loves his wife very much.
yes, and wants to give her a really good life. And but then he starts to kind of have second thoughts about doing this. And so then Kevin Bacon kind of acts like, oh yeah, I guess you're right. We probably
Yeah.
shouldn't do it.
Yeah. And then Kevin Bacon says, "Hey, have fun being the number of degrees as the dirt. Blam."
Yeah,
That was my failed stuttering attempt at a 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon joke.
yeah,
How about this? How about this? Hey, you're 1 degree from people I've killed. Bam.
yeah, yeah. They have a drug bust, and Bacon kills Ryan Reynolds, and then Reynolds gets sent up to heaven, I guess, or somewhere between heaven and another area, purgatory, I guess.
It seems like so. Let's not beat around the bush here. This is a
Yeah,
knockoff MIB movie, unfortunately. Men in Black.
yeah, it is.
Yeah, their police station of the damned actually looks quite a bit like the MIB offices from the movie.
Yeah, painted the same white color, same stuff going on. Yeah,
And Ryan is basically told, "Hey, you died, and you have two options. Since you're a cop, we could actually use you to track down deados. It was deados, right?
yeah, I think that's right. Deados, yeah.
Which sounds so stupid as a name to call the deads. I'm going to
Yeah,
take a moment here to. Okay, no, they are actually called deados. Okay, I was
yeah,
questioning myself there.
yeah,
But there are more souls coming through than ever before because of the population growth, and heaven wasn't meant to process this many dead, and so sometimes the dead can go back the other way, and we need you to help round them up. And so your options are: you can either become a soul cop, an
hmm
angel cop, if you will, to bring up a review Daniel actually did,
yes,
or you can go take your chances with eternal judgment. And considering that you were a dirty cop who was considering stealing gold,
yeah,
well, you may not like your results there.
yeah.
And so he agrees to this, and he is paired up with Jeff Bridges, who is a Wild West lawman who has been there for like 100 years.
Right, and like he likes to talk about how he died.
Yeah, quite a bit. Now, I will say that of all the characters in this movie, Jeff is really the only one with any sort of charisma or likability.
Which is odd considering we got Ryan Reynolds here.
I know. How can you? So here's the thing about Ryan Reynolds is that he has a very particular, like Deadpool is like the perfect character for him when you get down to it.
Yeah,
Because he always exudes this mix of smarminess, but also like good intent. Like
yeah.
just for example, I am actually a Mint Mobile subscriber. Uh,
Hmm.
1 year on Mother's Day, I get this call, and it is a voicemail being sent out to all of the customers of it, of that company. That basically is Ryan Reynolds reading off like, hey, moms, go take a bath or something for the next 30 minutes. Just leave your phone on speaker for the kids. And he proceeds to start reading children's stories.
Oh, oh,
And it's like it fits his brand where he
yeah,
is like he can alternate between being cynical and kind of nasty, but also like when he's sweet, you believe he's sweet.
yeah.
There really isn't any moment of sweetness in this movie.
No, there isn't. And he's wasted in this movie. Like just like he was in Green Lantern. Like they just they didn't use him properly. It's just I would never have guessed watching a movie with Jeff Bridges and Ryan Reynolds. Ryan Reynolds is the damn straight man. Like
Yeah.
it's not that doesn't work.
No, it's because they keep doing Jeff Bridges as like a crazy old coot cowboy who is ridiculous. And of course,
Yeah,
he gets the better look. Like he's the you get
yeah,
lines like he's perceived as this large bosomed blonde Victoria's Secret model,
yeah,
and so like he they'll be out in public somewhere and he'll get hit on, and you have Jeff Bridges doing his true grit voice, basically, just with a little less grit. Going,
Yeah.
excuse you, I am a human being and not a piece of meat, and you will address me as such.
Yeah. Oh, and Ninja's a Mint Mobile customer too. He had his, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, so it's unfortunately just a waste of Ryan Reynolds, and part of the
Yeah.
reason for it is that he is throughout the movie. He is told in no uncertain terms, "You cannot connect with your wife again. She thinks you're an old Asian man.
Yeah.
You're just making things weird for her when you keep coming up to her and trying to make a connection." He refuses to stop trying.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know, he and Jeff Bridges have like kind of like this. They have this sort of like buddy cop thing, and it's just and Jeff Bridges keeps telling him you got to stop doing. It's the same thing. You got to stop doing it, and he's like, well, and then brings up when he died with the coyotes picking his body, and then he said, "One of
Yeah.
them made love to my skull."
Oh, I forgot that line. I wish I'd been able to continue forgetting that line.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, 48 hours. This is not. It just doesn't have the
No,
same fun to it.
no, it doesn't.
Like if I were to do a writing pass on this or a punch up pass, what I would have done is I would have had it that Ryan tries once, accepts it, but he keeps being in contact with his wife, and she eventually realizes it's him on his own. Because that's your love conquers all ending there.
Yes. Yeah.
Um, but the plot of this one is that, or the overall threat that they're dealing with is that it turns out that the pieces of gold that he and his partner were going to fence are actually part of an ancient artifact that's able to reverse I guess you can say, to use spaceball terminology, it sets the flow of souls from heaven from suck to blow.
Yeah.
It just like send all the souls going up to heaven back to earth and just cause a huge, just overwhelm the world with deados.
Yeah, it's a bit, Book of Revelations kind of event. Yeah,
Yeah. And so they're trying to stop this, and they do all the cop cliches. They're taking off the case because they're loose cannons and they're causing more problems.
yeah,
Probably the best scene in the movie is when they're tracking down this fat deado, and they just are openly seen in public.
yeah,
Because, well, you have the fun things like you have Ryan Reynolds hanging from a grappling hook that he fired into the deado,
yeah,
and you cut to James Hong like flying along a building.
yeah. What's funny was I looked up the actor that played the fat Dado.
Hmm.
That's Buzz, the oldest brother from Home Alone.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay. Glad he got a job.
yeah, yeah,
And what it turns out is that his totally reliable partner, Kevin Bacon, was a deado all along.
yeah,
Ooh.
yeah,
Uh, And he's been trying to assemble this thing. Like he died, but he was too stubborn to admit it. Well, local man too angry to die, I guess.
yeah. Yeah, there was like some like shootout incident that the two of them had, and he said, "Yeah, you remember when I got shot and everyone thought I was gonna die? Like, oh, let me guess, you actually died. Yep, yep,
Yep. And so they have to team up and get back on the case and save the day. And also his girlfriend, or excuse me, his wife gets involved because I guess Kevin Bacon just felt like being an asshole about it.
yeah,
Should have done the thing where the wife had like I don't know, she was the key to it somehow. Like, oh, we need a descendant of this ancient priestess, and it turns out that your wife is the only one in the Boston area where we happen to be.
yeah, yeah,
Uh, like make her more involved. And so they go and shoot up a bunch of deados and save the day.
yeah. And of course, in typical 2010s movie fashion, you had the beam of light in this going up into the sky.
Yep. Uh, so I noticed that we dispensed with the plot very quickly because this is not a very plot heavy movie.
No, and thankfully it's only an hour and a half.
Yeah, you got to give it that. It at least didn't outstay its welcome, whatever
Yeah.
little it had.
Yeah.
I would say that even for 2013, the CGI in this was not great.
No.
The Deados were. I think part of the problem I had with this movie is that, like, take Men in Black. Like
Mm,
that had a good animatronics, and it also had CGI that would look awful by modern standards objectively, but there was a lot of artistry and coolness to the alien designs.
yeah.
Even Egger, the giant roach man, looked
Oh,
cool.
yeah.
The Deados just they look like people, but taken apart, for lack of a better term.
Yeah. Yeah, and they have this whole thing where they're like they don't like spicy like spices.
They don't like Indian food specifically for some reason, which
Yeah.
I'm half convinced they made it Indian food so that they can have Jeff Bridges refer to as Indian food because that's funny.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
Um, and you bring up a good point. There's a lot of rules and lore that they spout out for the RIPD and how death works and everything,
Yeah.
and it all seems like none of it really feels like it knits together.
No, and you know what to go back to Men in Black, like they have this whole system where like the general population isn't supposed to know that there are aliens among them.
Right.
And and if they do somehow find out, then the Men in Black will just neur, you
Neuralize them.
know
Yeah.
neuralize them. Uh, you don't get that sense with this movie, where it's like, yeah, they see these dead, weird looking dead people running around, and
Well,
it's on the news, and like,
well, they make it a big deal that you guys let one be spotted in public.
yeah,
It's
okay,
like
yeah,
and it's like it was the first time it had ever happened before. But as superhumanly strong as these deados are, like how has
yeah,
that not been spotted?
yeah, yeah, that didn't make any sense. Yeah,
Especially when we know this is going on for at least thousands of years.
yeah,
You also have uh, another thing is that the Jeff and Ryan are superhumanly durable. Not
mm,
necessarily superhumanly strong, but like Jeff gets hit by a bus and he's okay.
yeah,
And probably one of the funnier, I remember this from the trailer. One of the funnier images they had was the Victoria's Secret model
well,
squished
yeah,
against
she's squished, yeah,
against the bus's window.
yeah,
Um, and yeah, and so it's kind of hard to tell how much damage our main characters can take because they always treat it like they're always in danger when it seems like they're just taking a amount of damage that a ordinary human could conceivably survive, and then they do things like they'll fall 200 feet out of a window.
yeah, or Ryan Reynolds is getting hit in the head with cinder blocks, like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Right. So you don't have a sense of what they can take or do.
Yeah, yeah. So which eliminates any what do I want to say? Any sense
Tension.
of tension. Yeah, yeah,
Right. Because you don't know what the characters can actually accomplish. And then I would say the other big flaw of this is that it's oddly dull, despite like it feels like it shouldn't be.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. I was definitely getting bored in a few places.
Yeah, I feel like this movie could have had a decent second draft. Oh, and also the movie was very silly and knew it was silly, but it wasn't in a fun way most of the time.
Yeah,
Like the one thing that really struck my mind is like what the creators of this movie thought of it was at one point Ryan and Adetto are falling down the 200 feet I mentioned before, and they hit a couple of fire escapes and they bounce off of these two neighboring buildings fire escapes. On the way down, they're playing pinball noises.
I forgot about that. I, oh well, I must not have been paying attention during that part.
Yeah, like actual pinball noises. So it's like they're trying to ramp up the silly.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Totally, this movie was all over the place. Yeah,
Right? It's like you're supposed to take it very seriously that that he missed his wife, but and that his partner betrayed him. But at the same time, you have Jeff Bridges yucking it up, and Jeff really was the best part of this movie.
Yeah.
Though one of the gags that didn't quite land for me was he lost his hat early on, and so he spends the rest of the movie trying on new hats they stumble across to try and find a replacement. But they're
Yeah.
always like baseball caps, and
Yeah, like little fedoras and
it's
yeah,
like it's like, come on, dude, if you're actually looking for a hat replacement, why don't you go to a country western store
yeah.
somewhere where they'll actually have a new cowboy hat?
Yeah. Yeah, there's got to be at least one in Boston.
Yep. There's let's see here. Who's the actress who played their chief?
Mary Louise Parker.
Okay, I was wondering. She's in this too. Also wasted.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, like, she doesn't have the same. She doesn't have that. I think what they were really going for was kind of a what do you call it? McBain, you're
Yeah.
you're off the case type
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Or actually, I should say it would have been improved with that, but I guess that would have been too similar to MIB.
Yeah. Yeah.
So she was more like quietly overwhelmed and sardonic.
Yeah.
Almost like to bring up another to bring up Parks and Rec again, almost an Aubrey Citizen type.
Oh yeah.
That would have actually been funnier because then she would have just been completely past it.
Yeah.
So she delivers
Yeah. Yeah.
everything in monotone.
Right. Yeah. Uh, yeah, and then of course she and Jeff Bridges have this weird relationship.
Yeah, like it's clear that like they're exes because they dated for like 50 years or something, and then they
Yeah.
didn't.
Yeah, and they obviously still like each other, and they're like it's just really weird. And, yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't go anywhere really.
No. No.
Yeah, and I think that's might be the best summary of this. It doesn't really go anywhere.
No. No, and it's hard to care. It's
Yeah.
hard to care about these characters. It's just like, oh, jeez.
Now, if I compare this to Madam Web, is this a better movie? Yes, it is, but again, it's oddly less engaging because it's just making really like it is. It just isn't landing things that should be good instead of finding new and interesting ways to flop.
Yeah. Uh,
Um,
uh,
I've heard that the direct to video sequel that they released about in like 2022,
uh,
2021 was better. This is a low bar to clear, but I don't know.
yeah.
Maybe I'll give that a shot sometime if I'm bored.
Yeah. Yeah, I cannot recommend this movie.
Yeah, no, unfortunately.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we've said all we need to say for everything here.